Hi guys, welcome. It's Sports Week. My name is Tolu. He's Dan, and we're looking at one of the blockbuster games in the Premier League this weekend. Manchester United under Michael Carrick, who won 3 games on the bounce, take on Tottenham Hotspur, who look like a Champions League team nowadays rather than the Premier League team. Both teams go head to head in the Premier League this weekend, and on face value, if United can beat Manchester City and beat Arsenal, they should be able to beat Spurs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously playing Fulham last week, we touched on it in last week's show about how they would be up against lesser opposition. They made difficult work of their win on Sunday. Maybe they were complacent at 2-0 up and nearly got punished for that, but they are in the groove right now. And if they are making light work of the top two, then why would they not be confident against any other team at the moment? And it's showing, they are playing a lot more relaxed, a lot more in that kind of United style that we've known for years gone by. Really, a win for them at the weekend, and they're probably eyeing up Aston Villa in third. The ceiling might not be as high as actually winning the league, but there's still probably inroads that Michael Carrick and his players can make between now and May.
Mm, You talked about something there, a bit of a tongue in cheek about, yes, they're going to go after Villa if they do beat Spurs. And I've seen on a couple of blog posts and maybe on social media some United fans who say, look, we're not playing any cup competitions, we're not in Europe. All we have is the Premier League. Is there an outside chance that United could actually win every single game under Michael Carrick and go ahead and win the Premier League?
Well, of course, there is an outside chance. I mean, while the run's alive, you've got every right to say why not. I mean, the fact they are only going to be playing once a week is a huge benefit compared to the top three ahead. They've got their European campaigns that they will want to go as deep as possible, and you would imagine they will go as deep as possible. So there's certainly going to be extra games there. You've got the Carabao Cup final for Arsenal, Man City, more football. So yeah, I mean, you have every right to at least believe at the moment. Until that run comes to an end, why not? Why not embrace it and see where it all ends up?
All right, let's look at both managers then. Michael Carrick, absolutely wonderful job he's done with United. But let's focus a bit on Thomas Frank and the Spurs team. They basically have a first 11 out injured. Somehow they were able to get into the automatic places for the round of 16 in the UEFA Champions League, despite the terrible home form in the Premier League. The transfer window was one that a couple of Tottenham fans felt like Spurs could have done a lot more. They didn't particularly do a lot of business. They brought in Conor Gallagher, probably the most the player that everyone probably could relate with that they brought in the January window. Where do you think Frank's head is at the moment? Spurs fans look like they're divided on whether or not he's been a victim of the amount of injuries the team has got, or he's plain and simply not good enough to be Spurs manager.
It is really difficult because if you look at Sunday's performance against Manchester City, a draw, as silly as it sounds, is probably the worst result because a draw just keeps things ticking along. But really, it needs some form of change. Change either in the concept of much better performances, so you win at home to Manchester City, or worst case scenario, you lose and the board go, do you know what? Maybe it is time to change the manager. So the draw buys him time, but it feels like time's not really what's required. It needs something a bit more. So yes, there is the huge caveat of injuries. I think any manager at Tottenham at the moment would struggle with that. The fact he's got a patchwork team at the moment, players out of position, almost is commendable for what he did against City. But even the first half was a non-existent performance, masters of their own
Mm.
downfall, but a much greater performance after the break. So Tottenham are sort of almost stuck in, I wouldn't say as far as quicksand, they're just going nowhere. They're just sort of stuck in their own stasis at the moment, and it makes you kind of think, well, yes,
Wait a
they are.
minute. How do you sort that issue out? You've got so many players out injured. Fans want you to go into the window and basically sign replacements, but you think when they all come back injured from their injuries, you'll have too many players at the club. But the problem is, these guys who've gotten injured this season, it's not the first time that they've been out for lengthy periods. At what point does Spurs say, you know what, we will go out and get new players, and when these guys come back, we'll probably have to make a decision and let some of them go.
Yes, it's the double-edged sword, really, isn't it? Because you're right, you want to go and get players to be able to play straight away, but then you are too overfilled once they are all back. The problem you've got is that if you are selling players that have an injury history that works against them, they're not really desirable. So as tempting as it is to go out and spend 50, 55 million in the winter window, you've got the issue of trying to sell a player for 30, 35 million this summer that no one really wants or desires. It's easy to sort of, from a fan sort of perspective, to say, go and spend some money when it's not your money. I understand the logic of why Tottenham haven't bought players, but if they don't win at the weekend, everyone's going to say, well, why weren't they active in the transfer window? So they can't really win, whatever the situation. They can only win on the field and see if their justification of not buying players is proved right, really.
All right, so let's put our betting caps on for this one then. How do you think this one goes?
Well, it's very hard to bet against Manchester United at the moment, and why would you? You know, 3 wins in a row, home form is ticking along. They've got the longest current unbeaten streak in the Premier League of 7 matches, even with Ruben Amorim at the wheel as well. So I think it's another Manchester United win. I'll probably beef it up with both teams to score. Not quite enough value for the home win in 90 minutes, but I think that's just a simple bet in itself on its own. But I think this time both teams to score. Tottenham are capable of getting goals, but unfortunately they are more than capable of conceding more than that. So a home win, 4 in a row for Michael Carrick's men, and who knows, the title charge may continue.
All right, thank you very much, Dan. Detailed as always.
Thanks, Tolu.